Hey, what's up? It's Pat here. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today, I want to take you on a tour of patflynn.com, my personal branded website, which is indeed now separate than my other website, smartpassiveincome.com, which is where most people know me from. So, I want to take you not only behind the scenes of the website, but I want to take you inside of here and exactly why things are the way they are. I want to also show you the earlier versions of this site and tell you a fun little story about how I actually acquired patflynn.com because, it wasn't easy, that's for sure. Hey, everybody, if you're here live, say hello to your friends. Thanks for being here. And if you're here watching the replay, hit me up with a hashtag Team Replay in the comments section. Let's get the show started. Thanks again for being here.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, I have a ton of energy right now because I was just with my good friend Luria from Live Streaming Pros, and she's in the chat right now. If you're here live, you should follow her, check her out. She has all the best information about going live. She definitely hooked me up back in the day when I first started live streaming. So, Luria, thank you. I was on her live stream, and we danced for like 15 minutes, and it was super fun, and it was so cool. Lowell, what's up? Is this a replay? No, this is not a replay, actually. Yesterday, I took you through smartpassiveincome.com. Today, I'm taking you through my other website, patflynn.com. So we're talking about personal brands today, which is very important, right? I think everybody should have a personal brand. Does that mean you need a website? No, not necessarily. But I think it's important for people to get to know who you are, right? I even recommend this to some people who, you might even still have a 9-to-5 job. You should still have some kind of personal brand in your career. Meaning, what are you known for? What are your superpowers? What do people continue to come back to you for? What do people keep asking you questions about? Where might you be able to lend a hand mostly? And having just people understand more about that is what gets people to come back to you and to also just have a more secure career, right? I wish I had known those sorts of things when I was in architecture. That being said, I'm very grateful I got laid off because that turned everything around and got me to where I am today. So did I get the other Pat Flynn site? There's a lot of Pat Flynns, by the way. I don't know if you knew this, but there is a Pat Flynn who's a country singer. There is a Mick Pat Flynn who is a very vulgar rapper from Ireland. And there's probably millions of other Pat Flynns. I'm probably the only Pat Flynn that looks like what I do. I don't play tennis either. Nope, I don't play tennis either. Cool. So let me tell you the story a little bit about how I acquired patflynn.com. So I've always wanted my own name as a website, but as a very, very popular name like Pat Flynn, it's pretty difficult, right? So of course, I naturally go to patflynn.com, see it goes to this website. So I'm like, okay, somebody already has it, but that's not the end, right? And we're talking 2015 in terms of the timeline, just in case you're wondering where we're at. We're around 2012, 2013 at this time. So I go to the Pat Flynn, you biscuit. Nice t-shirt today, thank you. So yes, we are in story time right now. So chat, you know what to do if you remember here. So 2012, 2013, I go to patflynn.com. It redirects to a person's photography page. It wasn't even like his own photography page. It was like a flickr.com sort of photography page type of website, right? And of course, when you go to a domain, you can look up the who is and see who owns it if it's not private. And thankfully, it wasn't private because I was able to reach out and send a message to this person and see if they might actually want to sell it. And I was willing to spend up to about $1,500 on this at the time because I wanted my own personal brand. It would have been nice to sort of redirect to all the other things I wanted to do, but it wasn't going to be easy. But I started low. I said, you know what? Pat Flynn, nice name, by the way. But I would love to purchase patflynn.com for $500. And he came back and he was like, no, thanks. I'm sorry. I'm not selling. So I said, okay, well, here it is. I'm going to double it. I'm actually going to spend $1,000 to acquire patflynn.com. And he said, no, we're not going to do that. And I said, okay, let me just see what would happen, right? I wanted to see if this person would even bite. So I offered $10,000 for the website, knowing that I probably wasn't going to buy it at that cost, but I just wanted to see where this person's line was, right? So he came back and he said no. And this wasn't like immediately following it. This was like, weeks in between these conversations. So I wasn't like, what about this? What about this? What about this? Anyway, I gave him my final offer, $50,000. I did not have $50,000 to spend on a domain name. But I wanted to see, would he even sell this even for that amount? And he said no. So I knew from that point forward that I probably wasn't going to get it because this person really, really wanted to hold on to it. So I ended up picking patflynn.me up, and this became a website that actually looks like Oh, whoa. Sorry about that. I just noticed the system audio. Sorry. We're good now. We're good. My bad. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Luria, maybe you can help me out. Sorry about that. Sorry, headphone users. I just saw the red, and it was not looking very good. Anyway, this was a website that I created. I see the chat in my peripheral just going crazy, and I feel bad. So I am so sorry about that. Audio scared the bejeebies out of me, says Kathy. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, so this was a personal brand. I had just written a book, as you can see here, just kind of stuff about me and stuff about my podcast. At the time, I had only 8 million downloads of the podcast, have a total of 60 million now. Here's what the website looked like that I could point people to. Here were some social channels that I could sort of bring people to. Still love you. This is what life's all about. Indeed, indeed. Even the pros make mistakes every once in a while, and that's cool. That's the beauty of life for sure. But I'm not going to click through. I found this on the Wayback Machine. Again, this was patflynn.me, right? But I really wanted patflynn.com. But I knew it wasn't going to happen. I offered $50K and this person wasn't going to budge. Well, 2016 comes around and I get an email from a man named Pat Flynn 3 years later. And he goes, hey, I know it's been a while. I hope you are well. But I was hoping if you still wanted... Larry is sending me messages. What happened to the audio? Yeah, the system audio kind of got jacked up when I switched to screen. So I think we're okay now. That was so Atari Teenage Riot. Google it. my heart, says Annie to Nguyen. I'm so sorry about that. That's not the surprise I wanted to offer you. I have another button for that, but that's not what it was supposed to be. Anyway, this person emails me back and he goes, hey, I'm willing to take your offer of $50,000 now. I'm willing to take your offer. And of course, I knew that I had the upper hand here because I didn't need the website anymore. So I responded with, you know what? I actually don't need it anymore. I have patflynn.me now. It's working just fine. I'm not needing it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna take the offer. Knowing full well that I wanted patflynn.com still. But when it comes to negotiation, you gotta have the upper hand, right? And when this person replied back, he gave me exactly what I needed. He said, hey, well, what if we do 25,000? Because this is where he made this mistake. He said, I really need this money to go on a trip to Africa on a safari so I can take pictures. It's a once in a lifetime experience. And I said, oh man, dude, you just gave me exactly what I needed. And I found out that his wife was the one to try and convince him. He's like, my wife reminded me about the offer that you had sent, and this money would be really helpful for this trip. So what did I do? I looked up how much a safari photography trip to Africa would potentially cost. And it cost about $5,000. So I knew that he didn't even have that much for what it is he was trying to do, right? So here's what I did. I said, you know what? I'll take it, but I don't need it right now. And it actually, I want to help you out, so I'll do it for $2,500. I'm sorry, I really don't need it. And I knew that he would come back and go, well, what about 5,000? And that's exactly what he did. He came back with the number that I was hoping, which was $5,000. And so I made him feel like he had the upper hand, when in fact, I knew I had the upper hand. Negotiation is an incredible skill. And it's something that I'm not normally great at, But I just knew in that moment that when I found out exactly what this person needed it for, that I knew I was going to get it. I knew I was going to get it, right? I've been watching. There's a show called Barter Kings on TLC. There's also a lot of YouTube episodes on YouTube, in fact, where they always talk about that. It's bartering, right? Like exchanging one thing for another thing that costs more, then exchanging it for another thing that costs more to take like a paperclip and move all the way up to like a house type situation. And it always comes with, why does that person need that thing? That's way more valuable than the actual price of that thing. Because value, we often feel, is the price of something. But value, as we've talked about yesterday, is what it is that you can do to offer and serve others. And how might this help? Now, I did mention in this email, I wish I still had it. It was in an old email archive, but I had expressed how amazing this trip would be in juxtaposition to a domain name that was just sitting there doing nothing because he wasn't even actually putting anything on it. It was just redirecting, right? So I got the website, patflynn.com. I got the domain. Have had it ever since. And that was probably one of the coolest sort of negotiation stories that I could ever tell. I will also say that I'm interviewing Mr. Chris Voss soon on the podcast. If you don't know who Chris Voss is, he wrote a book that he's a it's called Never Split the Difference, and he is an FBI negotiator. He's going to be coming on the Smart Passive Income podcast, and we're going to talk about negotiation skills for business owners and entrepreneurs. Everything from you negotiating a salary to you negotiating a fee on a project to how to negotiate a partnership and a deal. So I think this is going to be really fun. What's up, D? Welcome. Thanks for being here, my friend. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody here. But that'll be fun. I think that's going to be really fun. So let's talk about patflynn.com, the new patflynn.com, because as we're seeing here, okay, cool. System audio is down, so we're good. This was the way it was for 6 years until last year. We finally redesigned it to what is now, boom, the new patflynn.com. I don't know if you've ever even seen this or knew about this. I don't talk about it very much, but it is actually the start of something big. Because what this is now my personal brand, right? Many of you know, we saw this yesterday when we explored smartpassiveincome.com, that I wanted to expand the team. So smartpassiveincome.com was synonymous with Pat Flynn for so many years, and it was only Pat Flynn, and everybody who worked for me, nobody knew about. Now the team is stepping up, and they're almost becoming a part of the Avengers, if you will, and everybody's lending a hand. Everybody has their superpowers to offer the audience. And so now it's the entire team. But I still want to do something with my personal brand here. Why do I have patflynn.com? Why did I invest into a nicely designed website? Why am I focusing on it? Because I have plans for the future. And this is sort of a stepping stone off of smartpassiveincome.com. I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I'm still there. I'm still very much involved, obviously, and very much connected to the brand. But in order for me to dive into other aspects of my life and other goals that I have for my legacy and the things that I want to offer and leave this world before I go, I need a place to be able to house those initiatives. And that's where the personal brand comes into play, because the personal brand is me, right? And I'm known for entrepreneurship and podcasting and such, but I also want to become known for other things. More importantly, I want to become known for things related to injecting entrepreneurship into education, whether that means creating an entirely brand new school or maybe having an influence in having entrepreneurship and the lessons that come with it to be a part of regular school curriculum, reading, science, math, entrepreneurship. Whether a person becomes an entrepreneur or not, those skills are going to be massively important. I believe this is me on record saying that those skills of an entrepreneur are going to be so important in the future, because robots and other things are going to take these other jobs from us, but nobody's going to take these soft skills from us, right? The ability to learn from your mistakes, the ability to present to a group, the ability to collaborate with others, the ability to fail so that you can learn from those lessons, the ability to create and solve problems by creating things. These are things that are going to help drive the future, in my opinion. And I think our kids need to know these things now, which is why I need this platform, patflynn.com, to be able to start talking about these things and sharing information about that. So welcome to patflynn.com. You'll notice that under my name, hi, I'm Pat Flynn. I want it to feel very personable. I do need to update that image because I didn't have a beard when this came out. But as you'll see here, this changes here in the middle. We've had a little fun little scrolly thing. Pat Flynn, husband, serial entrepreneur, and protector of Baby Yoda. I think on every refresh, in fact, I think it goes for a while, but I think if I refresh this. So, and #1 Back to the Future fan. Lover of dogs named Gizmo and Jarvis now. And devourer of buffalo wings. So just kind of adding a little bit of personality, right? When it comes to a personal brand, you need to get personal. I talk about this in my book, Superfans. You've heard this on my podcast. At the beginning of every episode, I have a fun random fact shared about me. And I remember, sharing this idea with my mentors. This was back in 2010 when I was starting the podcast. I was like, guys, I have this idea that I want to share a fun little random fact about me in every podcast episode in the beginning. And these guys who were major league, online, I was going to say ball players, major league podcasters, major league business owners, they would come up to me after hearing this idea and they go, Pat, that is a waste of time. People want to listen to a podcast episode about Facebook ads because they want to listen to a podcast episode about Facebook ads. Injecting these fun facts about you, I think, is just going to add some noise, and I don't think you need to do it. Well, I did it anyway, and now 65 million downloads later, and a fan base like no other, and a community that shows up. Thank you, by the way, you are amazing. These people are coming back to me, these mentors and my coaches at the time are like, wow, that was actually a really smart move. We got it wrong. You're a genius. And I'm like, no, I'm not a genius. I'm just being human, because people want to connect with other people online. And whether your brand is yourname.com or your brand is company name, but you just happen to be there and also are the face of the brand and the voice of the brand, the more people get to know about you and the kinds of things that make you you, the more likely it is that they're going to connect with you and know you and like you and trust you. And case in point, whenever there is a Back to the Future thing in the news, or whenever there, like literally every week, a couple things happen. Last week, there was a viral video that came out. About Marty McFly. And I don't know if you knew this, but in Back to the Future, the mall in the beginning of the story is called Twin Pines Mall. And the mall at the end of the story is called Lone Pine Mall. And that's because in the middle, Marty goes back into the past and like runs over somebody's tree. And then it was like this little Easter egg. I had 100 people tweet at me and they're like, Pat, did you know this? Pat, did you know this? Pat, did you know this? And I had to say, like, yes, of course. But the fact that I was able to be on another person's mind without me having to say anything, but because of the fact that just Back to the Future showed up somewhere, it's like Inception. It's pretty cool. I can show up without having to do anything because people know who I am, right? Every once in a while, a person will see a DeLorean parked on the side of the road. They'll take a picture and go, Pat, I was thinking of you. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. So on the surface, it's like, well, what is Back to the Future or these little random fun things? The fact that you love buffalo wings or that you were an 11-pound, 12-ounce baby, like, what does that have to do with business? It has nothing to do with business. But it has everything to do with building a relationship, building connection. And as a result of that, in my opinion, it has everything to do with business, right? My buddy Chris Ducker tells a story about Bob the Baker. You go to Bob's Bakery, you walk in the door, he welcomes you by name, he asks you how your kids are doing, he's getting you the bread that he already knows you want because you order it every single week, and then you walk away and you're feeling good because you have that relationship. And then all of a sudden, like a supermarket opens up between you and Bob's Bakery that sells bread for cheap, much cheaper, but you still take that extra half-mile walk down the road past the supermarket because you have that relationship with Bob the Baker. So how are we providing our audiences ways to connect with us as people? Because beyond the solutions that we offer, beyond the content that we create, there's the person behind it. And I think it would behoove you to show up and put yourself out there, right? People connect with the people. It's not, like the Backstreet Boys. Yes, it's the Backstreet Boys, but people connect with Nick, like my wife. Nick is tall and blonde and handsome, and she ended up with me. I don't know how. Number 2, there's AJ. Maybe you like the more, bad boy style. Like you like the bad boy, right? So you're all into AJ. Or maybe you like the more quiet type, right? The one who's sort of like, in the background, doesn't really want to like show up and offend anybody, but he's there and he's supportive of the group. So you like, who might you like? Howie. You like Howie, right? Or maybe you like the lead singer, right? The guy who's starts most of the songs. So you like Brian, right? Whoever you want to learn, right? Whoever you want to be a fan of, because you find that one. That's why every boy band has like a bad boy, because some people are attracted to the bad boy, right? And so, maybe you're into Star Trek, right? Maybe you're a Captain Picard fan, right? Or maybe not. Maybe you're more of a Spock fan, or Worf, or it doesn't matter, right? You like Klingons. It does, whatever. You do you. And I think when you do you, your tribe shows up, right? Cool. Matt says ZZZ. Well, at least we're giving you a comfortable spot to lay your head, Matt. I appreciate you for the honesty. But anyway, let's keep going here. This was the purpose of today's conversation, talking about personality and brand and first impressions, Matthew. So I think it's really important for us to dive into who we are, what are our superpowers, and making it not just about the solutions we offer and the content we create, but the way we do it and the style and the who makes us us. Because the truth is your vibe attracts your tribe, right? Hello, boss, says Martin. Cool. Let's scroll down. So here's some of the content that I'm talking about. This now provides me a platform to share things that I wouldn't normally share in my other brand. When you have an itch to do something else, having a place to do that makes complete sense. Very similar to my new Pokemon channel, right? Deep Pocket Monster. If I were to start talking about Pokemon stuff here on SPI, it probably wouldn't work out as well, right? There's a container where people can come to know me for that side of me. Here on patflynn.com, people are knowing me not just for the purposes of helping people with entrepreneurship, but helping also kids. And here's an article that I wrote a while back last year. This life skill is emerging in our kids thanks to the pandemic, and I'm all for it, right? So this is what a blog post looks like. Big, bold, again, titles that draw people in. I cannot stress how important that is for both your titles on YouTube, but as well as on blog posts, getting people in, an image to support it, right? An image, this was just a stock photo of a kid on a skateboard with a watch. And then, of course, the article. Now, this article was about stuff they don't learn in school, but stuff that actually has happened since the pandemic. In particular, this was time management. The kids have learned to, because they don't have Zoom calls for 8 hours straight, it's at specific times of the day, they're getting more attuned to, oh, what time is it? Okay, I have to show up here at this point. I don't want to be late. Versus, how was it in school? A bell rings and then you move to the next spot like a little sheep. So I think that the pandemic and the way that virtual learning is structured has actually benefited them for that purpose. The idea of time management. We've noticed that in our kids, they're getting more proactive with managing their time. And that's something that I did not learn until college, because I was always following a bell prior to that, right? Okay, let's go back to the homepage so we can share more about what's going on here. So latest blog post, always want that shared so that it's there. But scrolling down, there are categories, right? And this is, again, this allows me and gives me the playground to start writing about different things, because I don't necessarily know where this is going to go. I just know I have these interests, and I wanted to express myself in different ways that don't necessarily belong on smartpassiveincome.com. So I do talk about business here. I talk about technology. I think there is a post specifically about Tesla, right? How to use Elon Musk to start your first business, my Tesla Model Y specs, the future is here, etc. So again, stuff that wouldn't necessarily make itself onto Smart Passive Income I have here as well. Family updates, education, my thoughts on education and such. Then down here we have, of course, my featured books. So Superfans, Will It Fly, Let Go. Obviously really important. One thing to know, however, is Amazon allows you to use your own affiliate links to promote your own books. I don't know if you know that. They actually encourage that, which is pretty cool. So I'm actually making money off the book and also as an affiliate of my own book. However, we got into trouble for a little bit, so please keep this in mind. When you share an affiliate link on your website to Amazon, you have to share that it's going to Amazon. For a while, we just had buy here or get book here or click here to get the book. And it was then driving people to Amazon, but there was no notice that it was going to Amazon. Amazon's terms of services, this is very much in the finer details, but you have to disclose that when they click on that button, they are going to Amazon, right? So here, as you can see, it says buy on Amazon. This suffices. This does the job for us, right? Kathy asks, why did you decide to go with a dark theme? Well, we decided to go with a dark theme to differentiate itself from smartpassiveincome.com, which is very light. You saw this yesterday, in fact, and I'll just give you a little bit of a reminder, or I'll show you in case you didn't see it yesterday. But this is what the website looks like. By the way, lower right-hand corner, a very, very advanced thing that we're doing is we're collecting answers from people as they visit the website. And what that does is it changes the language on the website. That's using a tool called Write Message, something to just keep in mind for the future. But that little surveying feature allows us to better enhance our emails and to better enhance the messaging on the website, depending on what people are interested in. It can tag people actually in ConvertKit as people answer these questions, which is really neat. So just something to keep in mind. Again, that tool is called Write Message. But this differentiation between dark and light is really key. And I think that especially for mobile, most of our viewers are on mobile, in fact, on patflynn.com we found. So we decided to go dark theme because it's a little bit lighter, or it's a little bit easier on the eyes. So we have books here, and then we have down below my courses, and then down below that, speaking engagements. Now, obviously, haven't been speaking much at all. So this date is a little outdated. More coming when things get back to normal, and it hasn't gone back to normal yet. But in addition to your branding page where you have your courses and your offerings and your blog posts, it's really important also to share some things for higher level sort of potential opportunities. For example, a media page for media, as well as if you want to speak on stage ever, having a page that you talk about your what you can offer on stages as a brand, and perhaps some visuals or other things that showcase how you've been on stage before, right? So if I click on watch me in action here, you'll actually see me on stage. This is sort of like a preview. Actually, yeah, this is a sort of a reel that I'm not going to play right now, but it is like a speaker reel, like a hype reel, if you will. That one in the beginning, I don't know if you know this story, but in the beginning here, this was at FinCon, the Financial Blogger Conference. Where is it at? Yeah, right here. So this is the Financial Blogger Conference 2013. I actually fell on stage on purpose because the purpose of this talk was the fact that first impressions on websites are key. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So actually, it was the opening keynote. I fell on stage, and I actually learned how to do that by watching a lot of tutorials from WWE about falling realistically. And then I rewound because the music played in reverse, and then I came back, and then I opened up the conference by saying you never get a second chance to make a first impression. People still talk about that today, which is pretty fun. Cool. Bill says, Pat would like to send you a book that is only available in Kindle format. Will patflynn.com, pat@patflynn.com work? Yeah, that'll work. Or if you wanted to send an email to Jess at pat@patflynn.com, Jess will be there to intercept it, and you can let her know, and you can work with her to get that figured out. Anyway, let me go back to the page here. But it's, a speaker page is great. And let me share with you how this is broken down. So a little picture of me at the top, as you can see, in front of about 3,000 people, just to give a little context. And down here, again, me in a DeLorean. This was at a presentation. So just I'm sharing sort of how big I go. Right. And then I have the keynote topics. And this is something that's really key for your personal brand, having sort of your keynote talks or your pillar talks there available for people to kind of purchase, if you will. And it's interesting because most people who come to this page and ask me to speak, they do choose from those talks. And they, of course, cover a wide array of different topics and things that I discuss. But it allows me to then continue to use the same presentation over and over again. That's something I actually didn't know was a thing you could do. When I first started speaking in 2011, I had 12 or 13 unique presentations that I created for each place that I spoke at. And I didn't know that most professional speakers have one or two talks that they just do over and over again, that they've honed in, what they call their signature talk. And so that was kind of a bummer to realize that I just kind of, quote unquote, wasted time creating a whole bunch of new talks. But it wasn't really a waste of time because then I had 13 different talks with 13 different groups of stories and points and things that I could pull from. And actually, even still today, I'm pulling from all 13 of those and using them in different ways in new presentations, which is really interesting. Cool. So more information. And then, of course, testimonials are really key. One thing that even a personal brand should do is you should have some sort of proof that you are somebody worth listening to or watching. So here on the speaking page, we have some different testimonials. I think it goes a little too fast, in fact. But we do have some different testimonials from people like the founder of FinCon, the founder of Podcast Movement, who've shared some really nice things. And then, of course, some live events and stuff, too. FlynnCon, man, it's so sad that FlynnCon is getting pushed back again because of things that are happening. Now, a media page is really important too, and this is something that you don't necessarily need. Is it media, I think? Media and press, yeah. So I hired a PR person, and she said, do you have a media page? And I said, I do not. And she said, you need to get one right away. And a media page is where different companies and publications and brands that want to feature you can come to go to see what else you have to offer. In many cases, this is what people look at before they hire you or before they come to you to go have you on TV or put you in their magazine or whatnot. So I have a lot of these different screenshots and things where I've been on the news. I think that's important. And of course, this shows social proof. I should have these on the homepage if I wanted to show even more proof. And this is where I've been on the news for certain things. A lot of it happening this year, in fact, or this past year because of the pandemic and my story being relatable to that. And yes, it was something where I knew that I had this story that I could craft about picking yourself up after getting laid off. And my PR person went out and started pitching that. And the more and more we started pitching, the more and more I started to get on television and being able to talk about these things. And the more that people came in and saw proof of this, the more they wanted, the more new people wanted it, right? So here's some other thing, again, just a quick photo tells 1,000 words. Right. So any sort of news publication that wanted to know, okay, who's this Pat Flynn guy? Is this guy even legit? They can come here and go, oh, okay. And then our PR person then shares this particular link, the media and press site, to then kind of show proof, right? So we have any sort of television spots. We have news publications, New York Times, Forbes, Founder, etc. And then podcast interviews. Yes, this is the easy one. Podcasts are kind of like news outlets. Getting on other people's podcasts are an amazing way to grow your brand. And yes, you can display those as proof that you know what you're talking about. And this is the case many times when people come on my podcast, they share the Smart Passive Income logo on their website to say they've been featured on Smart Passive Income, and that's totally legit to do. And it becomes just a way to show proof that you have something worth talking about and that you're not just like somebody sharing this flashy stuff on a website, but you actually have worked with others. And people do look for that, right? People do look for that. I just resubbed to Haro, or help a reporter out, to pitch myself. Nice, Gail. There are also services out there where you can actually hire companies. I know BrittanyLLynn.com. She is my PR person, and she has a service where they will scour Haro for you and reach out to you when there's something that relates to you and your niche, which is a super handy service because Haro's crazy. Like there's journalists looking for stuff, and it's hard to filter through all that and weed through all that. So Gail, I think that's a smart decision for sure. And Tamara is going to be getting into public speaking, which is pretty cool. Look at the difference in his beard from those vids to now. Yeah, these were actually filmed during the pandemic, right? So look at the it almost looks strange that I could see my neck. It almost looks like somebody photoshopped the bottom of my face off. That's strange. Ha. Okay. Stephanie, you're very observant. Or maybe it's just that weird looking, I guess. Ha. That's funny. Cool. See some good supporting of each other in the chat right now based on camera lenses and stuff. Ooh, excuse me. Okay. And then we have here a page to share the YouTube channel, right? And this page was built with the ability to dynamically share the latest video up top. And honestly, to be honest, this isn't getting many views, this page, because most people are watching these YouTube videos on YouTube. That's where most of the views are getting. I would say maybe 1% of the views that are coming as a result of coming to this page and then watching. But it's here, right? It's here just in case anybody comes to patflynn.com. then they can hit the YouTube icon and then go and check out the YouTube videos or just subscribe from there too. I think that's important to do. If you have a podcast, you should have a podcast tab that goes to specifically your podcast information, and then you can go from there. The other thing that I want to share with you is, again, more of a proof situation, is this page here. And this is the advisorship stuff. And this is something that I want to share with you, not just because I'm like, hey, look at how I'm advising these companies. I want you to consider how you might be able to get involved in other companies' success and get paid as a reward for that. And I'm not just talking about affiliate marketing, right? Affiliate marketing is a very common way that we consider that we can, help another company out and get paid, right? The more you promote and recommend that company and that product, if a person that you feed over that way becomes a customer, then you can get paid. But there's other ways to work with companies too. So let's talk about advisorship a little bit, something that I've never spoken about here on the channel either. And advisorship means working closely with the company to help them reach their goals, to be there as a voice, to be there to create relationships. And the very first advisorship work that I did was actually with Clay Collins from Lead Pages. So he actually reached out to me. I didn't even know this was a thing that people did, but he was starting this company, knew I had a lot of clout in the blogging space and could help out the company quite a bit. And we actually sat and had dinner in Vegas together. And this was during a conference, so we were all there together anyway. But he took me out to dinner, and he kind of like, I don't know, it was like courtship, right? He was like, hey, here's what the company's going to do. I love how you have this to offer. I think we could partner together and work together. So I didn't even know what that looked like. I was like, what does this even mean exactly? And he's like, for just 1 or 2 meetings a month, I want to be able to have you as a voice to share things that can help the company, grow even more. And you have this connection to an audience that could help us get even more feedback for our products. And we'll send you more information about what's coming, and you can give us your feedback. And I was like, so you just want to meet with me once or twice a month? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so what does this look like? And he's like, well, we'll give you shares of the company. So essentially I own a percentage of that company. And the same thing happened with ConvertKit. The same thing happened with Teachable. The same thing happened with Squadcast. The same thing happened with Samcart. These are all companies that I advise now, where it's more than just an affiliate relationship. I still have the affiliate relationship, and I still get paid when I send people over to join those companies and become a customer. But more than that, if a company gets sold, having that many shares in the company allows me to also have part of that reward. And this actually happened 2 years ago. I don't know if you knew this, but Teachable was sold for several millions of dollars. And as somebody who owned a share of the company, I got my piece of that. Now, it was a very small piece. And when it comes to advisorship, you can expect usually no more than 1% of the company. And usually it's less. Usually it's like 50 points or half a percent, or sometimes even less than that. In some cases, I advise companies for 0.75% of the company. And that then is sort of calculated into total of number shares of shares. There's this whole world of startups and shares and stock options and all these sorts of things. And the way it worked with Lead Pages is they gave me so many. They let me buy into stock at a very, very low price, with give me access to that as an advisor, and they were stock options. And what that means is I can at any point exercise those options, which means now I have to, which then becomes stock that I actually then own. So stock options means that at any point you have the option of them buying into that stock at that low price, but then you have to pay taxes, unfortunately. And there's just, it's complicated, right? It's very complicated. There's a lot of signing that happens. There's a lot of numbers involved. Having a CPA on your side can definitely be very helpful for sure. But it's really cool because I can be an affiliate for the company, and I can also own a part of the company as well. But that's just a side benefit to me. The real benefit here is I get to have direct access to these companies to help influence where they go and what they become and the tools that I can use. A lot of the things that you see in Lead Pages are a result of conversations that me and Clay had. A lot of the stuff in ConvertKit you're seeing as a result of myself and other board advisors who were there to offer and lend a hand. And you have the ability to do that too. it's never going to happen if you just reach out to a company and go, hey, I'd love to be an advisor to the company. You have to prove yourself in some way, shape, or form. Part of that proving yourself doesn't have to happen because you have this large platform. Part of the proving yourself can be somebody who just continually wants to make that product better. And when you can show that you have value to add to the company with your ideas, with how you've implemented certain things in different and new ways, those companies, if they're smart, will want to pay attention. And in addition to being an affiliate, in addition to having a higher commission than you might normally have, you might consider asking what it might be like to come on as an advisor and actually work out a deal. Now, with every single company I've worked out a deal with, it's been different. It's been a case-by-case basis. There's no cookie-cutter way to do it. But it's really cool. It's really cool because then we have these continual meetings, and then I can offer sort of my perspective. They offer a little bit more plans about what's coming in the future, and I, as a content creator, can get behind that. And I can know ahead more than anybody sort of things that are coming, which is pretty cool. Question, how does one go about creating an advisory board for their own company, says Jay. This is a really great question. So you might have a company and want to have an advisory board. Now, I will say you can have an advisory board in the way that I shared it, where you're actually sharing parts of the company and whatnot. But you can do this deal in many different ways. You might offer a higher affiliate commission to these people in exchange for them getting together once a month to sort of be an advisory board. Or you might find that there's just some influential people out there who you'd like to connect with each other on top of the product and the business that you have, and that's of value to them as well. That's been the case for a couple companies who I don't have a share of the company. I just really love the company, and I know that as an advisor, I can then help influence what this company does. And Jay, you could offer that to perhaps your maybe you have affiliates already. You can offer that to your maybe super affiliates, your top performing affiliates, and just essentially go, hey, I'd love to help you more because you are helping them more by making the company better and allowing them to have access and have some sort of say, not even in exchange for a part of the company. They might want to get involved with that and knowing that it's going to ultimately help them in the future too, which is pretty cool. Pat, do you use Elementor for WordPress? What theme do you use? Sorry if you've already discussed this. So Cool Gray Cats, we use a customized theme that is on the StudioPress platform. So StudioPress uses, a very particular sort of framework to do their WordPress websites. And StudioPress has a lot of great looking websites that are not necessarily turnkey, but close, that have really good documentation that allow you to have a really robust, really powerful WordPress website, but still be able to customize it in certain kinds of ways, which is pretty cool. Cool. We got Poke Kinono in the house. We got Tamara, Dawn, Antonica, Bill, Bernard. Cool. Great answer as always. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, you don't have to start with, hey, I'd love to work with you. Here's some of my company. There's many different ways that you might be able to, provide value in exchange for getting value back in that way. Cool. So let's take you through this advisory page. Just bit of a story. So if anybody is interested in having me advise their company, I send them here, right? Having this page be there is both a social proof mechanism and just information for people who might want to work with me even more, right? So here's ConvertKit, and there's like a quote here. Pat joined us as an advisor at less than $500,000 per year in revenue. He played a massive role in helping us grow to over $20 million per year in 4 years. So that's a pretty darn good sort of testimonial, right? Again, a testimonial from the company's founder, not a customer, but the customer in this case would be somebody else who wants to hire me for advisorship. It's not hiring, it's sort of having me come on as an advisor, right? Teachable, one of the single best business decisions we ever made at Teachable was to bring Pat in as an official company advisor. He's been one of our, by our side from the beginning. He's our single most important competitive differentiator in the space, which was a huge compliment, right? Which is pretty awesome. Squadcast as well. And there's a few other companies that we just haven't added on to the page yet, right? That's a golden quote if I've ever seen one, said Chris. Yeah, for sure. How can you market or increase social presence for a nonprofit company organization? There's always a lot of people who come in who ask questions about nonprofit who are like, oh, I'm a nonprofit, therefore I'm different. And in many cases you are, but in many cases you're not. Any nonprofit can build a brand as strong, if not even stronger, than a for-profit brand. And I think it really comes down to storytelling. It really comes down to having advocates and influencers who help support you. This is what I know because when I worked with Pencils of Promise on their advisory board. And that one did not include a share of the company. That's a nonprofit, company, and they help build schools around the world. And I've helped build several schools along with the SPI community around the world as well, especially in Ghana, Africa, which is sort of our home base for a while. And it was some of the most fulfilling work I've ever done. But the way that they grew was through an influencer program, having people come on board. They had Justin Bieber come on. They had Wiz Khalifa come on. They had Usher as a part of the advisory board. In fact, I never got to meet him, unfortunately, but he was an advisor while I was an advisor. Gary Vaynerchuk as well, Marie Forleo, Lewis Howes, and really having the leaders in a particular space show up to show support, to then help get fundraising money and to kind of join their communities together to support and do these bigger, more worldly philanthropic things. And I did the same thing. I mobilized my community as well through the community that I have built. So getting in front of other communities who want to support the nonprofit and what it is that the nonprofit is going to do is really, really cool. Next, storytelling. The better that you can tell stories, the more likely it is that you're going to get people to move, right? And there's a reason why. You remember those commercials where they would show very destitute areas where people had no access to water, no access to food, no access to anything, and they would show, families and things like that. What those commercials weren't about, millions of people are starving, hundreds of thousands of people don't have access to water. What were those stories like? It was about this boy right here, and showing his face and showing like how skinny they were because they didn't have they were malnourished, and like learning that boy's name and understanding what his day was like. That made you feel what was happening, right? Versus millions of people are starving, which also is terrible. But what moves people are the individual stories and the connection to a single being. And so my advice to you as a nonprofit would be, are you pulling out the stories within your brand? With regards to who it is that you help, are you actually showcasing those stories and showing the impact that a person's donation, a person's fundraise might offer, and on that particular person? That's where your real connection happens. A great brand, an absolutely mind-blowing brand, a nonprofit that I'd recommend you follow is Charity Water. And there's some interviews with the founder of Charity Water on how exactly purposeful they've been with telling real stories, right? Telling real stories. Jashawn, what's up, Jashawn? Good to see you here. Thank you so much. Jashawn says, Pat, any tips for up-and-coming YouTubers looking to grow? Titles and thumbnails, man. That's like 50% of the battle. Titles and thumbnails. I cannot stress that enough. Titles, thumbnails, titles, thumbnails, titles, thumbnails. And a good hook in the beginning of a video, having a good hook. Because when you nail those things, you get people to click on your videos and you get people to stick around to watch them. That's what YouTube wants you to do. And when you do what YouTube wants you to do, they're going to help you out, right? So that's sort of like from a higher level. I would also recommend, if any of you might remember the other day, Daryl Leaves came in and dropped a huge donation bomb the other day, which was amazing. Again, not required. You don't have to pay anything to be here, but he donated $400. And he was on the podcast this past week, by the way. So big shout out to our main man, Daryl Eves, founder of Vid Summit. You can also find him on YouTube here, along with some other amazing YouTubers. D is here as well, and Roberto Blake and Sean Cannell, and there's so many great people. But Daryl has a book called The YouTube Formula, which just came out. #1 bestseller on Amazon already. The YouTube Formula. I recommend you check it out because he has a lot of things from his perspective, and he has connections and ties to YouTube. He works with Mr. Beast. Like, he knows the stuff, right? So I definitely recommend checking that out. But to me, it's showing up and providing a reason for people to stick around. And whether that be here on the Entrepreneurial Channel and talking about several ways that you might be able to land a big guest on your podcast and why that's important, but how to do that and how to make it easy, or something that's more entertainment based like my Pokemon channel and focusing on the stories behind the cards and making them look great, whatever it might be, I give people a reason to stick around. This video I created on the Pokemon channel not too long ago was a mystery box video that has built-in inherent what's inside. So people stuck around for 16 minutes in that video before eventually I got to the last item, and then people fell off a cliff in the retention graph, which was really interesting. So we are even learning from that too, and that's the other thing about YouTube is they give you all the data. Use the data that's in front of you. check out your previous videos and see where are people dropping off, where are people coming back to rewatch certain parts, what are the spikes in those retention graphs for your content. Check those out, because then that'll teach you what you should be continuing to do. Do more of what is working, do less of what isn't. Bill, thank you for the super sticker, my friend. I appreciate you for that. I actually watched a video of Roberto recently. Yeah, Roberto's always great. He's just real, right? He's just real. Joseph says, I'm definitely struggling with my first podcast, getting it up and recorded. Hey, I hear you on that one, Joseph. I recorded my first episode 3 times. The first one was just terrible. I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't outline it beforehand. I mean, I had an idea of what I wanted to say, but it was just a struggle. So what I did was I scripted the whole thing. I literally wrote every single word, and then I read that off. And that was a bad idea too, because it sounded very robotic. It didn't feel natural, and you want it to be more conversational, not like a lecture. I almost put myself to sleep. Third round, I kind of knew where I wanted to go in this conversation, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to hit record and go. I'm just going to do it no matter what happens, because you got to be a disaster before you become the master. And the first 10 episodes of a podcast are going to be a disaster. So let's just not prolong that. Let's just get into it and get that first episode up. It's going to be bad, and that's the rite of passage, right? And of course, there are things we can do to make it better. I would just make it good enough. Make it good enough, put it out there, because your next show is going to be more good enough, and then more good enough, and then more good enough, right? Cool. The YouTube formula, how anyone can unlock the algorithm to drive views, build an audience, and grow revenue, by Daryl Eves. Indeed. So we're already 8 minutes from the top of the hour, which is kind of insane. Bill says 7,270 subs on Pat's Deep Pocket Monster. Yeah, it's been growing like crazy, which is awesome. Cindy says, I joined ConvertKit because you were involved. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Companies will benefit from having advisors who have a big name out there, right? So Sydney, thank you for saying that. And of course, it adds a little bit more trust, a little bit of proof. And this is why brands use, influencers and celebrities. Now, there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. And hopefully, if you have a business and you want to bring influencers on board, you're not doing it just for their name, but because they also love and enjoy the product. And it's not just, some celebrity in a car who gets out and then drives away in a Tesla kind of thing, right? Reps. Exactly. Pat Flynn, and your famous quote, don't compare against others' highlight reel. Yeah. So on Instagram, even on YouTube, you see other people, you start to compare, and that's very dangerous, right? Because the comparison game doesn't help you at all. You need to compare yourself to yourself last week, to yourself last year, to yourself last month, to yourself from before, your last video, to this video. Because what we do is we compare our whole life to somebody else's highlight reel, and we don't want to do that. We can get into trouble. Grandma Goody says, your MVP reminder encouraged me to just start with my Clubhouse bio when I was fiddling with too much. Yeah, Grandma Goody, I remember you on Clubhouse the other day when we did that live here, which was super fun. And I'm glad that you're working on your bio and just being you, the Connie, and we can connect with you and learn more about you, and then push people over to Grandma Goody when that makes sense. They're going to bring Android users in. I think it was actually quite smart of them to leave Android users out initially. No offense to Android users. It's not about the idea that you use Android. It's just a way to control the madness when a startup first starts. And then after things are fixed and the bugs are fixed, then we can start letting new people in. I'm speaking like I own Clubhouse. I'm not involved in Clubhouse other than just a user. So please excuse me for that. Troy says, thanks for the info, Pat. Thank you. I appreciate you and the super chat that just came in from you. And Pat is an awesome dancer, says Gary. Yeah, that was just having a lot of fun. I was like, you want me to dance for how long? Okay. Let's do this. Let's boogie down. Bill says, so with same level of effort, with channel 500K subs first, Deep Pocket Monster. Yeah, I don't know. I could see both channels going to 500,000, but we are putting effort into pre-recorded videos now. We already have the next video lined up for next week here on this channel. 5 ways to make passive income. That goes back to some of our most popular videos from back in 2014, 2015 that we haven't done a second iteration of. So that video is already recorded, already on YouTube, ready and scheduled for next week. And then we're going to start a 2 video per week sequence here on the YouTube channel. Very, very fine-tuned, high quality, good information, 10-ish minute videos. And we're going to work hard on the titles and thumbnails. And it's going to take some time, but I think that we'll be able to get to 500,000 subscribers if we continue that throughout the rest of the year. And on the Deep Pocket Monster channel, I mean, who knows? There was some big news yesterday in the Pokemon space that is going to probably send things into the stratosphere, this being the 25-year anniversary and some other fun events happening. It's kind of a wild time for Pokemon, and I'm glad I have a YouTube channel now before the second wave of craziness, because the first wave happened in October, which is when I got into it. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but having a YouTube channel now allows me to play around a little bit in that space and have even more fun than I was already having with just the collection aspect of it. Whew, okay. We got 4 minutes left. Crazy. Big thank you to the mods in the house as well. Just Samson, Stephanie, we got Peasant Uprising, K-Walk Comedy, and thank you for holding down the fort and keeping things safe and happy and fun here. Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much for joining the community today and being a part of it with us. I appreciate you for that. Also want to welcome new member, Gary. So Gary Monson, who became a member before we started. I saw the notification come in, so I just want to give you a shout out and thank you for joining and supporting the community and got access to your emojis and stuff. Super fun. The anniversary must be why I see so many channels on Twitch for Pokemon. Yeah, that and just the market is just exploding right now. There's nothing at Target. There's nothing at Walmart anymore because scalpers are involved, and it's just like there's just very little supply, very, very high demand. Prices are going up. It is insane. Boxes that were once $80 literally last year are now over $1,000, and it's crazy. So anyway, woo, okay. So we're going to call that the end of the show. Tomorrow, my friends, we have our fun game day. Let me get the calendar for us just so we can make sure we know what time that starts. We are going to do a... Let's see, we're going to do a noon. Yeah. It'll actually be noon tomorrow, which would be pretty cool. So noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have game day tomorrow. It'll be super fun. And I'm really excited to hang out with y'all. So if the time changes, you'll see it on the wait room list, and we'll put an announcement. But yeah, that should be good. Awesome. So wow, how did we? Yes, we got Watch Your Mouth. I did get a secret word in. I got the secret word in today. Right, I got the secret word in today, which is good. And we only missed it once, but I still owe you a round of Watch Your Mouth, and we'll go from there. Love audio production. Yay, thank you so much for being a new member here. I appreciate you and all the support for the channel. Yeah, so 3 p.m. Eastern, that's going to be noon Pacific, and we'll see you tomorrow. So I got to get ready for office hours. This is just a day of calls back to back. That's how Thursdays often are, but that's okay. And I'm looking forward to the weekend and some relaxation with y'all. So anyway, thank you again. There you are. Let's see, anything else? No, I think we're good. You know, I wanted to take you through patflynn.com, but most of all, share a lot of those fun things about why I'm putting myself out there, why this is separate from Smart Passive Income, and how to use these different aspects of your page, from your speaking page to the advisory stuff, and dive a little bit into that, because I know we haven't really discussed that ever, and not a lot of people talk about that. So there's way more opportunities to work with companies than just the affiliate relationship. But yeah, this is super fun. Thank you for today. I appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow again at noon Pacific. That's 3 p.m. Eastern. And we shall chat very, very soon. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Peace out. And as always, Team Flynn for the win.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream. All while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Let's go. Thank you so much. Great content today, says Tamara. Thank you, Bill, for being here. Love audio production. Thanks, Pat. Thank you. We got Uncle Bill, Travis, Lowell, McCamera Junkie, Bernard, GTO, Bill, CV, Rose, Tina. I don't know if Lurie is still in the house. Gabriella, D, thanks for showing up today. Dawn, you're awesome. Keep up the great work. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out, and... Bruh. You're amazing. Bye, guys.